Here we are. It is the day after the Los Angeles Dodgers took Game 2, and I'm in a bad mood. And there's only one person who I could sit at a bar with, have a conversation, and cheer me up. And this is Dave Raymond. You may not recognize this man without his costume. Dave is the original Phillie Phanatic. He is the creator, somewhat of the creator of Gritty.
Oh yeah, we helped.
Well,
that'll be a story we'll talk about.
And then you're like a mascot guru. Mascots come to you to learn the art and the art of being a mascot. Right. I have a saying on my YouTube channel. It's respect a mascot. I'm really good friends with the Galapagos gang.
Oh yeah.
Not just the gang, but the human beings inside the gang. And one of the things, because they're inflatable mascots, people like to shove them. And I always, whenever I see that, I always yell, respect the mascot. What was like the most hairiest thing that ever happened to you as the Phillie Phanatic?
It's a good starting question, John, but before we do that, you were kind enough to say that this was exciting for you to meet me. It's certainly my pleasure to meet you. A big fan of your work, and this isn't, I'm watching all of your stuff. You said, look, I know a lot about you. I watched the turnaround, and it was special for many different reasons, but it also highlighted you as a human being, and I just loved it. It was really good. So it's an honor for me to sit here with you. It's great that you started with the most harrowing incident, because the best compliment you could have is people think that you're actually a living, breathing cartoon character. Mm-hmm. So when they do bad stuff to you, it's a compliment. They really think you're real. That's what I love about the Phanatic. He has always been real to me. He's been real to the Phillies. But very early on, when the Phanatic had his three-wheeler, was the start of his ability to move around more quickly. The beauty of Veterans Stadium, we hear so many bad things about Veterans Stadium, it was the most perfect ballpark for a mascot to perform, because it had an internal concourse. In other words, you could go all the way around Veterans Stadium while the fans could see you. That small concourse just above the 200 level, below the 300 level, I could ride that three-wheeler all the way around. Mm. This is when you could smoke in the stadium. Mm-hmm. And I was stopped by the guard that was helping me get people out of the way as I drove through, you can imagine. And he pointed to the gas cap, and I could see the gas cap had been popped open, and there was gas on the inside of the Phanatic's thighs and rolling down. And as I'm looking at this, I look up, and the first thing I see is a Phillies fan, about 7 rows up, and he's about to flick. Not knowing what was going on. Oh. He's just flicking. It's like he's doing his thing. He's going to flick the cigarette. I could see it was an Alfred Hitchcock movie. I could see that butt coming down towards me. I thought the Phanatic was going to go up in flames. Yeah. The only good thing was they'd never forget about the Phanatic. Remember that guy that blew up, right? That was really scary. The usher that saw it actually stood in the way and just stop the cigarette from coming down.
Like Secret Service. Yeah. That's awesome.
Like he was throwing his body on the grenade.
Yeah.
And I still have the thoughts of that, how crazy it was in those times that you could smoke. Mm-hmm. It just so many years ago, it just shows me how old I am. But, I got bumped and bruised. The Phanatic has had his bumps and bruises for the time that I was his best friend and for the time Tom was his best friend. And simply put, it is a dangerous occupation to be doing ad-lib, spontaneous things that are not planned in any way. And you're dealing with human beings who can make mistakes and not on purpose. Mm. So, but I survived.
So the hairiest thing was you almost got set on fire. That's pretty.
It sounds funny to me now, but it wasn't funny then.
The first time the Phanatic made an appearance was in what year?
Oh, it was in 1978. His birthday was April 25th, 1978, and he appeared at the game.
He appeared. I remember him or seeing something that one of his first appearances was at the Captain Noah TV show.
Yeah. So just remember, no one thought this was going to be a good idea. Yeah. I was just a kid. I was 22 years old. I was living my dream job as an intern the 2 years before. Sure. Now this was like, I just said yes because my dad said, say yes to anything they tell you, even if, and this is before he knew what was going to happen. Just do whatever they tell you to do. You'll prove your value. So even if it's you're cleaning toilets or doing whatever they ask you to do, you're the guy that'll do it. So that's why I said yes. Well, the very first, played the Cubs, beat the Cubs. Tim McCarver in the paper said, we're 1-0 with the Phanatic. And I remember reading the paper go, wait, but the Phillie Phanatic's name is in the paper. I just was so excited. And then Carter, Captain Noah, invited us. And it was me, Tim McCarver, and Marilyn Desjardins, who was the first Phanatic muscle. When we originally decided to do this in the stands, everyone was saying, well, you got to have a big police officer with you. And Bill Giles thought the exact opposite. People with beer goggles, I'm going to show this police officer he's not going to keep my kid from the Phanatic, whatever.
Yeah.
And Bill decided, let's put one of our hostesses there. And we'll find an attractive hostess who will disarm people. Well, Marilyn was so attractive that she didn't just disarm people. She kept getting phone numbers from all the men in the crowd. So they weren't paying attention to the Phanatic. They were just paying them. So Marilyn was there. Tim McCarver was there. The Phanatic was there. And Captain Noah was there. And I remember walking out of that going, wait, this is stupid. This can't really be happening. And it only got better from there.
Did you go down the sliding board in Captain Noah's set?
No. It was kind of off his set. We got to see his set, and it was just on the edge, I think, because the Phanatic, Tim, and Marilyn, we all needed to be part of that shot. And somebody just sent me, I get pictures sent to me all the time to sign. Mm-hmm. And somebody just sent me, that was one of the 3 pictures from their collection, was the Phanatic and McCarver and Captain Noah on that show.
Yeah, and Captain Noah was like a sweetheart of a human. He was like a pastor in real life.
Yes, he was a wonderful, wonderful human being. A big fan of the Phillies. He showed up and did whatever the Phillies asked him to do when it was related to kids. He and his wife, super people.
Now I saw that you. I watched a lot of the interviews you've done, and I saw that you love being the Phillie Phanatic, but you find what was more rewarding was the stuff outside of the stadium, like visiting children in the hospital, and. What is about entertaining sick kids? Like what do you find that fills your soul? Like what makes you feel good about doing that?
Well, it was such a tough thing to do. So you have to understand the dynamics. There's a human being that's the Phanatic's best friend that's along for the ride. Mm-hmm. But that human being is experiencing everything deep inside the Phanatic's heart. So I've always thought that, I could feel and hear the heartbeat of the Phanatic all the time. So we would walk, let me describe it this way, as I use in a lot of my keynotes, that imagine if you were to be able to walk into a hospital room when a family is dealing with unthinkable tragedy, something that you think, how could a parent go through this?
Yeah.
And then when you show up, it's a celebration. And there are, tears, but tears of joy, and there's hugs of gratitude. But the humbling thing was the parents would stop the Phanatic's best friend when he was leaving. And they would look at me and say, thank you for giving us the best medicine we could have ever had.
Yeah.
In the early days, I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. I was not only humbled, but frightened. Like, I don't want to make a mistake. I want to do the right thing. But it would happen over and over and over again. Yeah. Not just there, but many other places. Whether the issues were an underserved community, a family that was dealing with issues that were financial and lack of services. And the Phanatic would go into those neighborhoods, and guess what? Those kids were always so better behaved than the kids that I would go to some party that was put together with a lot of money and a lot of access. Mm-hmm. The kids in those depressed neighborhoods were the ones that would come out sheepishly.
Oh, it's like seeing a rock star in person.
Well, I just think they appreciated something good happening to them. So, and the Phanatic has been doing this. This wasn't just my 16 years. This is 48 years and 40 into 49th year. It's going to be 50 years of the Phanatic. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of those moments that when you look at the Phanatic, if you're watching this and you see the Phanatic, don't think of silliness, think of a superpower. Because the Phanatic has this superpower to distract you with no matter what's going on. So I saw the Phanatic dance in the 7th inning in the first game Saturday night. I had my whole family there. And I leaned over to my wife and I said, that's the most difficult thing to do. And she said, why? I said, because we're losing. Yeah. And people are going to be upset with Duran's intro now. And yet I watched him dance with all the joy, and I watched all the people in front of him on the dugout, in the Phillies dugout, smiling and laughing at him, going, if you can motivate a Phillies fan to smile and laugh in the midst of, the passion we have for the playoffs, it's special. And that same power goes on and helps people at the worst of times. And it is at the heart of all that I talk about. The Phanatic taught me that, and actually was there for me during my worst of times, and I didn't really know why it was helping me.
I went through a really tough time. It's the part of the turnaround movie, and after we have screenings of the movie, I'll have people come up to me and they'll just say, "Thank you for talking about this, because nobody talks about this." And it's such a rewarding feeling I get from talking to people about mental illness and bipolar disorder. And it just makes me feel good. So I know that feeling you get. I just started doing mental health lecturing. Like I gave my first lecture. And it is just so rewarding, and it just makes me feel good. I feel good doing good.
You were like, you're the poster human to describe what the issue is. So if you see your content, see your personality, see what you do, that Philadelphia fans just eat up, because it's part of the heart of who we are. Sophisticated in that we really understand the sport, but somewhat aggressive, because we're going to tell you when you're not doing the job you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you look like you're so involved and so happy and such a happy person because of it. You're the person that when they find this out, especially through the documentary, like, wow, I never would have thought John would be like that.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with mental health issues that are not checked. We need people in our lives that we are confident enough to tell them that we are struggling, but we also need people in our lives who know us well enough to say, "Hey, John, how are you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing good." No, John, seriously, how are you doing? Because it gives you the ability to then share, because sharing and then having somebody who listens can really get people out of that hopelessness or out of a really difficult time. And this is what the Phanatic does.
Yeah.
He provides these moments where you can get a break from that, because you either need a break from it, or you need somebody to ask you how you're doing, or you need to go ask somebody else how they're doing. We could save millions of lives by just doing that. And the Phanatic has this baked in him. That's what
it's funny. Even when the Phillies stink, you still have the
no, they never stink.
No. But like I got the Phillie Phanatic tattoo, I think in 03 or 04. So it was like those years where they almost made the playoffs, but they didn't make the playoffs. And I had young kids at the time, and my daughter didn't care about the game, but she just loved the Phillie Phanatic, so she would come with me. So the Phillie Phanatic is more than just like, the team may stink, but at least we're gonna get like 5 minutes of laugh watching the Phanatic. It's really, when you see the Phillie Phanatic, do you see yourself? Like, do you go, "Oh, like that's no"?
No, I don't. Here's the beauty of it. If you describe this from a human level, hey, you're going to be able to go and start this character, and you are going to be the person that gets credit with this, that, or the other thing, and then you decide to leave, and when you leave, you realize when you're gone, you're gone. That you would be jealous, that you would feel like, I don't want somebody to be as good as being the best friend as I was. Mm-hmm. Yet Tom Burgoyne, who's the best friend of the Phanatic now, is a brother from another mother. Mm-hmm. We're very close. So when I see the Phanatic, I see the Phanatic. I do see there's a piece of Tom and a piece of me that are in the Phanatic, because we're such close friends with the Phanatic. And I say this not as instructed by the Phillies, but to understand that I see him as a living, breathing entity, and I'm proud of him. Mm-hmm. I could say more like a parent. So I haven't lost him. The only thing that I miss is what probably fires you up, is to be in the center of that crowd. I mean, I can be a fan, but it's a marvelous experience to be on that field and be able to get the fans to respond whatever you want them to and however you want them to. There's an excitement and a real feeling of energy that you get from that. But I'm getting that from performing on stage now and speaking. Yeah. So I feel like there's no regret, but any of my feeling of, I wish I could, physically, I don't wish I couldn't do that anymore. I don't wish I have to do that anymore.
Tom's been the Phanatic since 93.
Yeah, 31 years.
Yeah.
So because including my 5 years as, an alternate best friend.
You did it off and on.
Oh, yeah. He and I met during an audition when he showed up, and before he even, inhabited the Phanatic for the audition, he threw a bunch of pictures on the table, and I looked at them, and they were pictures that I could see of championships that we've had. Sixers, few others, the Phillies in some of the National League championships. And I go, why are you showing us these pictures? And they said, oh, well, the blurry images back there, that's me and my brothers. We're on the stop sign. We're on top of that car. And sure enough, I'm looking and I go, well, why did you show us this? I just wanted you to know I was a fan.
Right.
I mean, and then he brought the Phanatic to life the way we would have hoped he could, because we really care about the consistency. And the Phillies still look at him as a living, breathing entity. They don't double up appearances.
No, yeah. I was at a thing with spring training. I was at a water race show at the ballpark. And because the Phanatic was at spring training making an appearance, Phoebe had to make. Yeah.
This is leaving a lot of money. Well, it's not a money issue, but the Phillies could have always cashed in much more deeply on the
There are
Phanatic.
3 fangs.
Yeah.
The union have 3 fangs.
Right. So and most organizations do, because you need to reach the public that you want, but they don't mind saying no. Like, you can't book the Phanatic in, let's say July. You want to book him in September, October, they say no. We cannot commit now, because they don't know what type of postseason they're going to be, and they need the Phanatic to represent in the most important way, not at a party, not at a bar mitzvah or a bar mitzvah, just a private function. It's for the city of Philadelphia, and they do a wonderful job, and that's what I'm most proud of, is how he's going to live long beyond you and I, John.
Sure,
but he's also going to live long past our grandkids, because of what he's able to do.
When you go to games, do you judge other mascots? I know I do. Like, when I go to Baltimore and I see the bird, I'm like, he stinks. But I don't know what it is. I don't like skinny mascots. I like a belly. I like the.
Well, you're being a fan. I'm mixed, because I can be a fan, but I'm also with the eyes of somebody who's experienced in this business.
Right.
I don't like mascots that I look at and can tell the organization doesn't care about them. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm going to probably get hate tweets, but the Nittany Lion. I think he's amazing. When they do the We Are Penn State, and he's doing but he looks like a kid in pajamas. He
looks like the Barbara Bear practically.
I want to see something that suspends some belief. So you really see, a beautiful animated line. Now, all the old folks from Penn State that went to school and graduated, it's because of their power and their financial giving power that they would never allow that to happen. Right. Meanwhile, the Nittany Lion needs a refresh. Not for me.
Well, the Hulk just got a refresh.
Yeah, and that's you got to look at it and go, hey, I'm in a city or I'm in an area that has the Phanatic and Gritty. I should want to be able to be represented in the beauty that those two characters do, and it just comes from care. If you don't demonstrate that you care about them, and it leaks. Fans don't even realize they don't know why they don't like something. It just doesn't look like it's kept well. It doesn't look like it's cleaned. The performance may be great, but they just overindulge on every single appearance, or the character is out all the time.
Right.
I mean, you'll notice the Phanatic is not
3 innings.
You just come out and do, because if everybody has access to him all the time, then he's not special.
Right.
So these are things that are kind of the business of mascots. So that's what I'm looking at, John, all the time. I don't discriminate. When I see a kid smile, or I see families being...
Nobody smiles at the bird. Yeah. I'm sorry. He does...
No, there are some. You're going to get the same hate and tweet.
No, it's other fans can hate me. Whatever. It's okay. I don't care about their opinion. The Hulk, he does now he's the oldest mascot, I think.
I wouldn't know,
but the Phillie Phanatic is the first baseball mascot, because the San Diego Chicken was a radio.
Well, yeah, I think the best way to capture it is that he was the first character that was completely sponsored, approved, and driven creatively by the team. Mm-hmm. All the other characters, there are pictures of an Oriole bird being done, just a costume in full feathers that the promotional department did, but it didn't last long, and it is part of the history of mascots, but nobody really knows about it because it didn't last long enough. But this is the first one that was sponsored, supported, and I will say this, the Philadelphia Phillies are the only organization that have cared so deeply about a character that they treat him as if he is a living, breathing organism, character, or flightless bird from the Galapagos Islands. And that's the way they treat him. And that's, when you see the Phanatic, you see the fanatic. You don't see, oh, I know the best friend. I know the.
Yeah.
As two women said about 6 years after I had left the Phillies, I was up in the Hall of Fame area, and I'm standing with my family in those stand-up tables in the Hall of Fame area where you could take your food and still be outside. Mm-hmm. And they were teachers, because I heard them say they were teachers. And the one woman said, wasn't there a guy from Delaware that was... oh no, he's long gone. So my buddy who was with me has nicknamed me Long Gone.
Long Gone. Wow.
Now. So it's and you asked me the question a while ago, what do I see when I see the Phanatic? And I love the Phanatic, and my 3 children that Sandy and I have fortunately created. Fortunately, Sandy has done most of that work, but these beautiful kids who never knew me as the best friend of the Phanatic have just grown up, and we've introduced them to the Phanatic, and I'm able to sit there and watch them where the Phanatic brought them up on the dugout and danced with my 2 daughters even before my son was born.
Yeah.
And it was it's incredible to watch from that perspective, where my oldest son, Kyle, I had him ride on the 4-wheeler of the Phanatic. He was a little tow-headed kid that would come on the dugout with me, and I would put my arms out like this, and we'd run towards each other, and then he would duck and go between my legs in the Phanatic. What?
Oh, that's funny.
And so
you did bits with your kid.
Yeah, Kyle,
that's great.
So Kyle grew up with all that. I mean, he played wiffle ball with Mike Schmidt and Mike Schmidt's kids on the Sunday picnic day that we had every year.
Yeah, I remember them. They were like father-son's games, right? Yeah. They don't do that.
No, they don't. Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I guess.
It's a big business now, and we've got separated. We have the separated team from the separated organization that runs promotions and entertainment, and separated from analytics.
It's big business.
Yeah. I mean, we had 47 full-time people when I was an intern in 1976, maybe even a little less. And now there's triple that just in the analytics department. They go online and go like this with the analytics department. You just go page after page.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's still a wonderful organization, but there's no way they could have the family atmosphere that the Carpenter family started.
Right.
Because it's growing out of that. You can't do it that way more. We didn't have a human resource department. We had an accounting department. That was it. But there was a beauty and simplicity in that. And I think the Phanatic had a wonderful incubator to grow up and not have limits put on him.
Oh my God, you said incubator, and it made me think of something. Who's the Phanatic's father?
This is a question that's really not asked that much.
Get out of here.
I've heard it a couple of times, but it's funny because in our day and age of parenting and the importance of fathers and all that, and then there's all kinds of debate about that. But it's never really. I mean, I think
not Dave. Not Dave Montgomery. We don't say he went to it.
I would say if there is truly a father, it would be Bill Giles.
Bill Giles, because
Bill was the one who, and David was running the sales office at the time. He certainly is one of the architects that brought us to Stadium, along with Bill and Monty, as he's affectionately referred to, was a marvelous keeper of that family atmosphere. From the Carpenters to Giles and the Gang of Six, which was a bad phrase for these wonderful families that were part of that ownership, to Dave Montgomery, that they held on to that for a long time, and it's wonderful to see what that's built. Like, even though David would have hated it, the Monty's angle up there is really super. And I've already seen a couple of plays that went our way this year because it bopped off Monty's.
Yeah, angle. Usually the other teams have a problem with the angle because at least we know it's there.
Because it's Monty.
Right. Did you watch the game last night?
Yes, unfortunately, and I'll be here Wednesday, sitting right there. I was just, usually the whole family's together, but it was just Sandy and I and Carly. Our middle daughter. And gosh, it's just, I remember, when Trey hit they always play him up the middle, but he hit that hard, and I thought either that's getting through, it's going to be a tough play. Turned out it wasn't a tough play until the second baseman. Yeah. They showed it in replay.
Freddie Freeman saved it.
And he threw it, and you could see his hands were around the ball, like, he was pulling a Steve Sachs when Steve had trouble throwing from second to first. And when Freddie made that play, I actually thought I saw it bounce over his glove. So I'm like, oh, we tie it. And then sat down there, put my head in my hands. And until this morning, I woke up and talked to Sandy and said, this is really silly that this is affecting me so bad, because I know what life can deliver, and this is nothing. So I'll be there Wednesday thinking, hey, we can do it.
It's a long season, and you just have a lot of hope. And you invest a lot into the team, And I love this squad. I don't know what it is. I just think they're a group of guys that like each other.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question.
And I think we were talking about the '93 team earlier. That's another thing. Like they're just a group of guys. I like a group of guys.
Yeah.
I don't like something about the San Diego Padres. I feel like they're hired mercenaries. And I just feel like the Phillies play fantasy football together.
Yeah.
I just like that.
And I agree. And I had the beauty of 16 years watching maturing teams from 1978 through to 93, and they all do have personalities. But you can tell in a clubhouse, and it's easy to see that 80, 83, and 93 all had this special sauce of that clubhouse dynamics that you can't put your finger on it. You just know it's good. And each one of those good teams has a different personality and a different chemistry.
Yeah.
You can't have archetypes. Like, Pete Rose is given credit for taking the weight off of Mike so Schmitty could be Schmitty and didn't have to worry about anything else. And Mike has said so in his documentary that truly was part of it. But, you haven't have an archetype for Pete Rose. I mean, there's only one Pete Rose.
Right.
But there are people that play those roles and pulling people together. And, Macho Rowe was 93. And I know that whole segment of the clubhouse because when I would walk in, sometimes I had to go get towels or whatever through the clubhouse. They were the ones that were always yelling at me, go, well, hey, what? They want to know what happened in some place. They heard a Mets fan hit me or something.
If there was a fight,
they were all...
Oh, that's cool.
And it
when the Phanatic is... well, I guess the Phanatic doesn't really travel with the team. Does the Phanatic?
No. I did. The Phanatic did travel a couple times when I was going out to Portland to do what was then the AAA team for the Phillies. Because the Phanatic's travel started in minor league sports. Traveled to all of our minor league teams at least once, sometimes twice, and then other minor league teams would say, "Hey, can the Phanatic come to our ball club?" And I would always say through Chrissy Legault, who is the de facto real mom of the Phanatic, who handled all the appearances. And I said, why do they want me to? And they said, they don't care, David. They don't care if you're wearing a Phillies jersey. They just want you to entertain. That's all that matters in minor league sports. So I started doing those tours. Well, on this particular occasion, the charter was going out that way. So I got to go into, and when they were playing in San Francisco, and the players convinced me to put the costume on and just run out somewhat unannounced, which you could do then. And two things happened. The Phanatic got a contact high because it was up in the stands. Because you think New York is bad now, walking through New York?
Oh my God, it's horrible.
Those years in San Francisco in the lower level,
right?
And the players, the San Francisco Giant players, were just like they were so excited the Phanatic was there.
Isn't that great?
And they're playing around. We have some video of that I really love watching because it reminded me. So I did that game and then stayed out all night. I think it was Pete Rose and a bunch of other guys and then got no sleep and then had to go do the Portland game, jump on a plane, do the Portland game. I don't think the Phanatic was as active.
No.
The Portland game as
Well, then the good thing is the Portland crowd doesn't know how good the Phanatic
they were
is.
happy.
You just said jump out of the plane and it just... Does the best friend of the Phanatic actually jump in the suit, or is it like a military guy wearing the outfit?
I can only tell you that I do not skydive. I'm not scared of heights, but skydiving wouldn't be thinking, hey, let's go do that.
Right.
So there are people who have helped the Phanatic
Okay.
learn how to skydive.
Yeah.
And actually do it safely.
Okay.
The Navy Leapfrogs.
Yeah, they do it
They're the organization that's done it.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that the first successful jump by the Phanatic was done because the Navy Leapfrogs helped us. And it was in April, and we were not expecting... Well, if there's a breath of wind, they cancel it. It's something that's hard to do. And when the Phanatic landed, the place went nuts. And there's some great video of that happening. And they took the Phanatic out to San Diego, and they taught him how to skydive. That's how they did it. And there's video of that, too. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Will this be part of your... He's in the middle of making a documentary about... the Phillie Phanatic?
Yeah, it's called Big Fan with a PH. And it really is, the simplest way to describe it is it's all of the people that came together to create, I think the greatest mascots that's ever been in sports.
I second that.
And thank you. but you're here, so don't.
Well, I mean, I have a tattoo of only one mascot on my body.
All right,
That's the Phanatic.
I'll count that as one, two together. But and it's just, he has continued to be this great mascot. So I think for sure he is the one that really started a trend that from a business perspective, but also from an entertainment perspective.
But since you retired from the Phanatic, you've been motivational speaking, and you've been like a guru and creating other mascots. Did you like start helping mascots right away? Like, what was the year after the Phillie Phanatic like?
Well, the reason why I decided to retire in '93 was that I knew from a business. Let's talk about business right now. From a business perspective, I was never going to earn anything from the Phanatic unless I was his best friend. Mm-hmm. I knew physically, because it was wearing on me. I knew physically, and I went on to perform for another 15 years after I left the Phillies. And I knew that there was a limit to that, but when I was done, just like a player, I wouldn't be old enough to retire. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to teach other people how to do this well.
Right.
Go to organizations, say, let me help you. So it was a consultancy model. My brother, who worked for JP Morgan and had a financial acuity mind better than anybody's, helped me write a business plan. And I ended up going into business first with the people who designed and created the Phanatic. We had a 7-year run. That business ended, and I opened up Raymond Entertainment in 2000 with a full focus of I'm going to now help design, create, and not character costumes, and mascots, but more importantly, teach them how to run the program, which is all based on care. Yeah. You got to invest in it. You got to believe it's one of the best things you'll do for your organization. It could be the one marketing thing you do that outperforms all your other marketing, because you have an asset that can actually literally and figuratively go out and hug and make people feel good. Nothing could be a better marketing exercise than that. Sure. And so we did it, and we followed. I looked back at what the Phillies did, and I developed it into a process that I could teach. And that's where the power of fun came from, and the power of fun moving into the evolution of happiness, which is how you use those same principles of care and support and love to help you during difficult times in your life and build sustainable happiness. And what has happened in all that maturation is I've studied positive psychology deeply to then go, I wasn't lucky having the Phanatic to help me through tough times. You don't need to inhabit another personality. You just need to understand what the science of positive psychology says, and that you got to work hard and practice at it every day. So all of that stuff has matured from helping people to build characters that are the best. The ones that are the best connect on an emotional level with people. And how do you do that? Well, you do some of the same things you bake into your character. He is lovable, but he has a backstory that says, before you found him, he wallowed in some misery. He had people who were trying to hurt him, people who were making fun of him. And then once this organization found them, they said, hey, come here with us. And then inside of that foundation were the principles to bring him up, to lift this character up. So those stories that we tell really are about the organization. And the same stories are what you can do. It's the same thing about showing that you care people around you and show them how gratitude and kindness and all the things that mascots do are actually good for you mentally.
Who knew that the Phillie Phanatic is like, like mental health, like mental help? There's something special about going to a baseball game where my brain shuts off. Like, I'm riddled with anxiety. Like, I'm riddled with it. If I'm not worrying, I'm not breathing. It's just the way I am. Mm-hmm. But when I'm at the ballpark, my brain shuts off. I don't know what it is about that place. All my worries melt away. And, all my friends are there. The game's happening. The game's kind of secondary. But, like, just hanging out with all my friends. I used to be an employee at the stadium. So it's like, I don't know, it's where I go. And it just, all of my problems, like, melt away. And I saw in an interview that you did that you were going through some really dark stuff. And the only thing that would kind of brighten your day up is, like, being the Phillie Phanatic. What were you going through that was so, like, dark that the Phillie Phanatic was like?
Well, I mean, I had,
even though you're not the Phillie Phanatic, I know it's not.
No. Listen, it's okay. We get it, and it's important for us to look at the Phanatic as you know, as this living character that we love so much. So that's all we're trying to do. I had a Leave It to Beaver existence. For those of you who don't know what Leave It to Beaver is, go look up Leave It to Beaver. Watch the episode 30 minutes. Ward and June Cleaver, the parents, help Wally and the Beav solve all their life issues in 30 minutes. So it was a beautiful life. My dad was an iconic figure who everybody loved in Newark. I grew up with him. I wanted to be him. He helps me get the job with the Phillies, and then I'm the Phanatic. So I'm living the most amazing life with no thoughts of hardship. And then out of the blue, my mom gets cancer. She dies in 8 months, and just weeks after my mom's memorial service, my marriage falls apart. My young son, Kyle, who was just a few months old, they were gone. And really, when you're going through tough times, you're supposed to, like, you know, the Hollywood version is you kumbaya around your family. Well, everything was a mess, no trust, and I was into hopelessness, which is where you have bad decisions and think, well, that's going to be the way I will end this. And it's horrific. And when you're in the midst of it, and looking back, because I didn't tell anybody until when I testify about this on stage, I just never told anybody. I couldn't believe myself that I was there until I understood what was happening. So I was telling the Phillies I wanted to quit, but I had some appearances I had to finish before the schedule. I mean, it was just logistics. They were beautiful, wonderful as always, and they said, "We'll do whatever you need." And then it was in those final appearances where I actually paid attention for the first time, because I was miserable. Yeah, like I can't do this. I can't do it. I put the costume on, and then all of a sudden, my personality would float away, and the Fanatics would be in charge, just like. It's a flow state. That's what you're in a flow state.
That's what my psychiatrist said.
That's what it is. Yeah. You lose sense of self, sense of time, and you are distracted. This is what I call the power of distracting fun. So that's what saved me, was the Fanatics' power of distracting fun. Was I had to be him, and guess what happens? You go out, and everybody tells you how much they love you. Yeah. They come out. I want to hug you. Take a picture with my kids, and oh my gosh, you're amazing. And then I would take the costume off, and because I was in a hopeless state, when I got out of that costume after 2 hours of being soaked with loving kindness and gratitude, I was a tick above hopelessness, which is the best place to be, because then you go, oh, I don't have to think about that anymore. I've got this. Go to the Phillies and go, no, and they were all supportive. They go, are you sure? Yes, this is what I need. And then, it's so many years later that I can now finally, and it took me a long time, because talking about my mom and thinking I was taking advantage of her struggle with brain cancer and being vulnerable, it felt uncomfortable until I got some training about speaking. They said, this is what you need to do, because you're going to have people come up to you afterwards and say thank you, just like you. Yeah. And that's exactly, we're the people that need to share. Yeah. People wouldn't expect somebody like you, who's so funny and so engaging and really, as much as the Phanatic does, embodies the personality of the snarkiness, the insecurity of Philadelphia fans like you do, that we're the ones that need to go and tell the story. So I'm glad that you're doing that. This is important for you to do, because I'm not saying this lightly. You will save lives, because somebody in that audience that nobody knows is struggling will walk away from that. They may come up to you and say thank you, and then they go home and they fix it in a different way than the way of self-harm that they were thinking of. It's so important to talk about it, and the military gets racked with this so much because they're never taught to be vulnerable. We're creating warriors and people who are fearless in the face of harm, and they walk towards the fire, not away from it. And then suddenly, when they have to be vulnerable, like, I can't do that. They would prefer self-harm over sharing that they were weak.
It's actually noble in some militaries.
Correct.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, it's part of unfortunately, what they have to do to become warriors takes a part of that away from them. And then when they come home, many of them don't have the support. And that's why the best thing to do is I want everybody who's listening to this to get a hold of somebody in your family, in your network, who you have an idea are not doing well, and say, hey, how are you doing? And when they answer you and say, I'm fine, say, no, really, I want to know how you're doing. It's a huge...
It's just a conversation, and that conversation can make a difference. Just to let people know that you care, or you could be there to help someone. And it really just people were afraid to talk about feelings.
Yeah,
and
especially it's not an issue of male or female.
Well, I think men
it's
are
just men in general,
especially our age, like 50 and above. The people who watch Leave It to Beaver, Ward Cleaver's dad.
We're taught, you're fine, you're fine. That's what my dad used to say. You're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Whenever I had tears in my eyes, you're fine, you're fine. But that was their generation, and I think that hopefully we'll, the pendulum swung a little bit now, where people are really sensitive to it. Also, it's an unfortunate issue that the awareness for mental health, which is good, also allows, I always say the 10% stupidity factor. Have you heard that one?
No.
So all the bad behavior you see, even the worst behavior, it's all because of the 10% stupidity factor that's in every segment of life. The reason why we know of the 10% stupidity factor is all of us have been there once or twice and go, oh, I know how you can get there. So it's that stupidity factor that's really making all of us try to move away from it. So this mental health awareness in the 10% stupidity factor, those are the people that take advantage of it to get a day off from work.
Sure.
Or cry wolf. And that is, I'm hearing this from mental health professionals, that this new awareness is great, but then it also can be misused. And hey, look,
that's everything.
That's going to happen.
Right.
So that's why I try to discount it. It doesn't mean that we stop it because there are people going to take advantage of it.
There are going to be people who take advantage of it, but there's also mental hospitals full of people who are at their lowest point in their life. And
those that we're helping.
If I knew in 2012 when I was in a mental institution, when I was at my lowest, when I was thinking about ending it all, I was going to be sitting at a bar with you one day talking about mental health. I'd be like, man, life's going to be great.
Yeah.
But at that time when I'm at my lowest, all you feel is that low. And people need to know, if you work at it, you can lay in that misery and suffer. But if you work at it, things do get better.
Yeah, and it was interesting that you said it, because when I first started studying positive psychology, a lot of this work was done first at University of Penn and a lot at Harvard. And Martin Seligman is kind of considered the father of positive psychology. And you want to go out and watch a great TEDx, watch his TED Talk, one of the first TED Talks. He opens by saying, I was in psychiatry, and back then our whole focus was making the miserable less miserable. But that was okay, because if you remember me telling you hopeless to a tick up,
right, the tick up,
that when we make somebody less miserable, we have an opportunity to effectively help them not to go further down in their misery. But what he said that they discovered was in all the data, let's just say the data was on a graph, they kept seeing these outlier dots that were not inside of the area of people that they wanted to study, people who were miserable, that were hopeless, and they were focused on them. And he said, pretty soon we started going, well, what's different with this data? And you start to see the people that make up that dot seem to be naturally happy. So they started to study those people. Mm-hmm. The earliest study was in, I think, 36 in Harvard, and it's the longest study of human happiness that's ever been done. And just recently, they've come out with the single most important factor in your overall happiness. They put them on a scale of the sad, sick, and the happy, well. So the happy well is where the people are that are doing things that they're trying to study. What are they doing? So they had like 21 factors, but the number one most important factor will surprise you. It's your social relationships. So you need friends.
Yes.
You need to work at having what Arthur C. Brooks in his book Build the Life You Want, he calls them useless friends, which I think you and I could be useless friends. We only get together because it's fun to get together. I don't need anything from you. You don't need anything from me. There's no transactional part of that. I just love being around John. John loves to be with Dave. We hang out. We have a beer. We enjoy ourselves. And we always go back home and say, I had so much fun.
Yeah.
Those relationships are so important. And the people that are in the happy well, that have lived longer, because you do this stuff, not only are you going to be mentally prepared, you actually are physically better, and it can increase your lifespan. I mean, we can all go out and get hit by a bus.
Right.
We can get sick. That can take our lives. But without those things involved, we're going to live longer when we work on our happiness. And these are simple things like expressing gratitude, being kind. You know, what you're doing here is kind on many different levels. It's fun and kind that you came in here to talk to me and said you appreciated me. People are going to watch this and they're going to enjoy it. They're going to learn more about you and more about me. Go out and be kind. I mean, being kind and expressing gratitude, the things that you have, not the things you're trying to get later. It's just so important. I was hoping that we would and I know there's no script here, folks. We just sit down.
Yeah, there's a teleprompter.
I was hoping that we'd get into this because I think it trumps everything that I have done within the confines of the Phanatic. I feel like everything that I did there has put me in this position.
Sure.
I think that's why.
I was excited to talk to you about the Phillie Phanatic. But that's just like a little portion of your life. Your life has gone on many years since you've been the Phanatic. And knowing that you do the mental health talk circuit and you give, I saw that you gave a TED talk in Wilmington, and you just talk about being positive, having fun, and that's like the way to be happy. And I think about it because I get depressed. I battle depression. And there's times where I could physically feel my depression and I just can't get out of bed. Like, I can't. Yeah. But I make myself.
Do you know Jack Kornfield by any chance?
No, I don't.
You got to look at him. He's a Swami guru. He was a monk. He took a vow of silence for 2 years, and he's now a social scientist. And he talks all about anxiety and some of his gurus that have taught him. And it's counterintuitive. And my daughters, my kids, I think their generation struggles with anxiety because they're aware of it.
Right.
And what Kornfield says, and the people that have taught him say that obviously trying to push away at the anxiety makes it worse. So it's counterintuitive to let it come in. But in Kornfield's teachings, he says you personify it. Hey, thank you. I know who you are, and thank you for coming in because I know you want to make me better. I don't really feel like I need you now, but I understand sometimes I don't have a choice. I mean, it's weird, right? Like, could you see having he's talking about taking your anxiety and actually make it like
a positive thing?
Well, like you make it into a human being so that you can accept it's a human being that maybe you're not best friends with, but then when you're around them, you learn something. Or however you decide to do it. But I thought that was so interesting because I've never struggled with anxiety. I've had an anxiety moment, but not the people who
like I said, I can't
describe it the way you do.
I can't turn off
or the way
brain.
My daughter Maddie at times has said that it's scary, and but the counterintuitive measure is to accept it. Just like you're taught in the work that I've been doing in positive psychology is to never waste your suffering. I heard that from one of my great mentors, Pat Williams, who really helped the Sixers become what they were and went out and created the Orlando Magic. And he said that's the best thing he ever heard from any mentor. And I said, what do you mean by don't waste your suffering? I mean, it sucks, right?
Learn from it? Is that what you're saying?
He just says that it's part of life. So you're not going to stop it from happening. So when it happens, you know it's there. And here's what you look at. When I'm done with this suffering and I'm going to overcome it, two things are going to happen. I'm going to gain some resiliency. So that when it happens again, I'll know that I'm strong enough or I'm faithful enough for it to be over. But you always learn the most and grow the most during the most difficult times. So you look at it this way. If I didn't have my struggles, I wouldn't become the human being I'm supposed to become. Without them, like we do this course on happiness, and we say, look, here, we give them the actual little vials. They're colorful. They actually have Gatorade in them. And we say, okay, this is super serum. Everybody here can decide to drink it. And if you do, you will never struggle again in life. Who's drinking it? And I'd say well over 50% will raise their hands. And then we'll have a discussion about that. And the discussion is, first of all, there's no super serum that will take away your struggles. But if you look at your struggles as being somebody who, those struggles are going to show you and help you become the human being you're supposed to, you go, well, I'm going to deal with that pain because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's where faith comes in. And it can be agnostic faith. It can be you just believe that things are going to turn out. Or in religious faith, you believe that you will never be alone. Those are both of those are powerful things to believe in your heart and soul. So I think faith plays a role in both of those cases, but it doesn't make it any less painful. It doesn't make it ever where you say, "Oh, I don't want this to stop. I'm enjoying this suffering." Right. It just means that the other side of life, just like the suffering, is the joy.
Buddhism. I was into Zen Buddhism for a while, and like the whole thing is life is suffering, but you just don't let it take over your life. Like it's just we're all going to get sick, we're all going to die, we're all going to have stuff go wrong, and you can either choose to let it take over your life or not. And I'm still working on it.
Well, that you will. I believe that anxiety and someone who suffers from that will not stop in your life, but you'll learn how to manage it better.
Right.
And at least that could be a goal that you could have. Because if people think, I don't want anxiety, no, that makes it worse. I mean, this is what I haven't suffered from it. But this is what I've learned in the study, that I believe that just like the struggles, you're going to have the joyful moments. So when you're in the joyful moments, you suck the marrow out of those times. Because they're temporary too. The balance of both of those, if you really believe in those realities, you go, okay, I'm suffering. I get it. It's part of it. I hate it. I want it to stop, but I'm going to learn something from this. And then you get over that, and then suddenly you get these joyful moments. You go, oh, all right, I'm on top of this now. I'm going to really, really be present. When you balance those out, they call it the good life. Yeah. And that's the study from Harvard, is the good life, that the happy well are the ones who have strong social relationships. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they get as much sleep as they can, they're physically active. So those 21 factors those are some of them. But it's interesting that the top level one is that you need good social social connections. And in some of your story, it was about you being alone. And
I was going through a divorce. Yeah. There was we were fighting over the kids. Yeah. So there would be nights and I was an alcoholic at the time. And so there would be nights where I would just be sitting in my house, an empty house, which used to be full of people. And I'm just sitting there drinking beer, and it's just like, it's sad. And then at the time I was just watching garbage TV. I was watching Jerry Springer, and I feel like that. I'm
not laughing.
No,
I'm laughing because I understand.
If you watch negative stuff, it just makes you negative. Yeah. I believe.
I think you say that in the documentary that you are when you're surrounded by negativity, you're not getting out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the hard work you have to do to figure out, well, how do I get out of this cycle? I'm sorry that you went through these things and that you're struggling, but the one wonderful thing about what you're doing here is you're building this following of people who understand you, love what you do, and I think you that's a good thing for you. I'm assuming
one of the things people tell me about mental illness, and when people like pull me, I can always tell people who watch the turnaround from my YouTube channel, because when my YouTube viewers, they're like, they're all loud, but when they see the turnaround, they're like, hey, we saw the movie.
Yeah. Like, are you okay?
Yeah. No, I always say to them, like, I always ask them if they're okay, because they're like, I usually think they have a mental health issue.
Because they gravitate to you.
And they say, I appreciate you talking about your mental health struggle. Nobody talks about this. No. So I make it my goal. If I wake up in the morning and I'm doing a YouTube video and I'm depressed, I make sure my audience knows, hey, had a tough day today. I'm out. I'm doing it. If you're battling depression, make sure you get out and you're doing it too. Don't let the depression win or whatever, or the anxiety win. But I always talk about it because people say people don't talk about it, and I you can't erase the stigma unless people accept it. But saying that, I have the movie on Netflix about my mental illness, so everybody knows I have the mental. And people are so accepting to me. So I don't see the stigma. I just see the positive.
Well, that's good, because I think it is changing. And I think it's changing, in fact, because folks like you that are talking about it, this is why I feel I'm supposed to be talking about it, because it's only really been about 8 or 9 years since I've really shared this on stage. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, it was the Power of Fun process. It was the TEDx talk when I first started really revealing the story. But in my keynote now, I really dive a little bit more deeply into it, and the response from the audience is really supportive of the fact that we need to talk about this. So, and I get a chance to talk to frontline healthcare workers. I've talked to FBI agents. I've talked to teachers. I consider my daughter Maddie is a 3rd grade teacher at a Title I school. I consider them frontline heroes. And really, my marketing says that I speak to high achievers, but also or stressed high achievers, but also frontline heroes, I call them, and those are both employees and firefighters and our police and our military. But we do have frontline heroes that are working every day in an environment that's not about war, right. And it's frightening what they go through, and they're caregivers that don't realize that they need care too. So I am so happy that we've had a chance to chat about this, because I think it's so important.
It's really.
And thank you for doing it.
Oh, I appreciate it. Now listen, You got some stuff here.
Yeah.
We got to. First off, I got to show you my friend Carrie. My friend Carrie is a super Phillie Phanatic fan, and I told her I was talking to you, and she said you got to show him my hat. And you might know drinking.
I have no. She's is that garage beer, live garage?
That's
beer?
garage live beer. Yeah,
I think.
But she built that. She see the overall she's wearing.
Oh wait. We have to file a copyright infringement on it. Well, this is what I love about, and also the Phillies don't. You know, if someone is taking this and selling this and making money, they're going to say something. This is the stuff they love.
Oh, she's been offered $1,000, and she's told people no.
I've seen it. This is what. This is what inspires the creativity in people. I see this stuff all the time. It's and the great kids fanatic outfits. That
the little guy who's always dancing.
Yeah, there's always been somebody. By the way, this has happened from 1978 until today. There's always some parent who goes full bore. Like Central Casting, LA. Put together the best looking kids fanatic outfit. And I love it. I love it.
But she's the best, man. Yeah, I told her.
The ones that I just wanted to focus on today was this because it means something to me. So this is the original flag when the Phanatic got what was his three-wheeler then from Honda. And it says the Delaware Cycle Center, which was the cycle center that had the Phanatic, taught me how to ride a three-wheeler, then put the Phanatic on it. I went to Bill Giles, and the next day, this is how much Bill Giles cared. He didn't care what it cost. He went and bought it for me. And this was the flag that the company in New York that helped Bill design the Phanatic.
Yeah.
They created this.
Was the Phanatic built in the same studio Big Bird was built in?
No, but the people that designed the Phanatic, Bill and them collaborated on what it finally looked like.
Yeah.
But Bonnie Erickson was one of
Henson's puppeteers?
No, she was the original designer. So she helped create Miss Piggy. She created Statler and Waldorf, the two old men puppets that.
Yeah.
So Bonnie is one of the most creative people I've ever met, and she knew nothing about baseball.
Right.
Which was the beauty of her, was that she wasn't confined to the box. So the Phanatic's nose was really something that was her inspiration. She likened it to the the plastic horn that blows the raspberry. People still have the horn where it's wah, and she liked it was a raspberry. So it was that funnel note and the tongue that would come out was some of her inspiration, because that's all she really understood about what fans were doing.
Yeah.
She knew nothing about the sport.
Then the Phanatic's a bird, right?
He scored touchdowns, so we had to explain that to her. No, Bonnie, it's a run. Okay.
the Phanatic's a bird.
Yeah, he's a flightless bird.
Without a beak, because he has the honker.
Yeah, he's a flightless bird from the Galapagos Islands, and that was the whole. There was no backstory until we started making appearances, and people kept saying to me, "What are you?" And I would go like this.
The Phanatic.
And they said, "No, we know you're the Phanatic, but what are you, an aardvark? Are you an anteater?" And I would come back and say, "We got to make something up."
Yeah.
And I said as a joke, he looks like a Darwin experiment gone bad. And then
that's the Galapagos Islands.
Somebody else in the meeting said, "Oh, that's it. You're from the Galapagos Islands." And in that short meeting, they created a simple backstory that has, generated not only millions of dollars in value, but has given people an answer. And the best friends now know who they are, where they came from, and what they're supposed to do.
Right, and because of him being from the Galapagos Island, we now have the Galapagos Gang.
Yes, which are your friends.
My good friends, yeah.
Created, and I appreciate this, respect the mascot.
Respect the mascot. Now,
but people think that
one of my questions I was going to ask you was, what is your most prized baseball possession? And I'm not going to ask you because you showed me this already, but this is, so if you're a Phillies baseball fan, this is incredible.
Okay, so I can't prove this, but through a story that I will tell a little bit more quickly than I normally tell, this is the last ball from the 1980 World Series. This is the one that Tug McGraw threw to Bob Boone, and then because of a prior meeting in the clubhouse, decided that the third baseman should be able to jump on the pitcher instead of the catcher. So that's why Tug jumps into the arms of Mike Schmidt. So the reason why I know this is I actually was on the bench for both the National League Championship Series against Houston because the Phanatic performed, and then they didn't have a ticket for me, so they put me on the bench. So I watched all that. They sent me to Kansas City to do the same thing. The owner of the Kansas City Royals didn't want the Phanatic to perform because he didn't like mascots. So I sat on the bench for that game. Well, in that game, I caught a ball over there that looks just like this one. This one, I found out many years later. I was very close friends with Tug. He loved my mother. He catered to her when she showed up at the game. So I didn't know this was a World Series ball, but he wrote to her. It says, "Hi, Susie," my mom's name. "Peace, love, and happy 1981." So we're assuming this is springtime after they've won the World Series. There's Tug's signature. And I was always displaying it like this until one of Carly, my middle daughter, came up and said, "Oh, is this the ball that Tug gave to Mama, or Nana, as we called her?" And so I said, "Yeah." And so when she took the ball off to look at it, I saw the World Series logo, and I went, "Wait a second." And I talked to Mark and Carrie McGraw, Tug's kids, and they said they never found a World Series ball in its effects. Bob Boone has said, "I gave that ball to him in the clubhouse thinking, why am I giving this to Tug? He'll never value it. It will be in some bucket in his garage, 50 years from now." Instead, and this is exactly what Tug would do. I knew him. He loved my mom. He goes, "I'm going to sign this ball. It's the last ball, but I'm not telling anybody."
Right.
That's him. Anybody that knew him, and I know many knew him the way I did, that would be something, because he was certifiably insane.
Yeah.
In a good way. And so he would do something like this. This is exactly, so I can't prove it. It's, it won't be in Cooperstown because I can't prove it. I don't think in my mind, there's no question this is the last ball. So that's the best thing I could.
That is the coolest, besides the World Series ring.
And by the way, everybody, this goes into a locked safe every night. So don't come into my home.
And by the way, we're in New York State. Well, Dave, I appreciate you taking this time to talk to me. And I ask everybody who I talk to this question. You don't feel free, you can answer it any way you want. But Dave Raymond, everyone needs to know, do you put ketchup on a hot dog?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. Mustard, relish, sweet relish.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best. I mean, that's the way I've always eaten my hot dogs. Maybe my mom tried to put ketchup in there. That's a bad idea, isn't it?
Well, one of my sponsors is Heckler Spicy Ketchup. So I like them, but every other ketchup's garbage. But yeah, I usually don't put ketchup on the hot dog.
All right, you told me that before.
No, it's okay. No. You can answer it any way you want. The guy who is my ketchup sponsor, he wanted me to go hard when ketchup doesn't belong on a hot dog, because that's like my thing. But it's kind of spicy and it's good. It actually does.
Well, I do like spice, and that's why they now have spicy relish, which is even better. So you can get all kinds of spicy mustard. So yeah, it's just the way I like it. Nothing against the sponsor.
No, listen, no, the sponsor wants me to bash it. It's really funny. Right, okay. Well, listen, I can't believe I'm here. Thank you so much. I am now over the Phillies' loss. I feel good.
We still we've got 3 games left. Okay, I'm just saying, and I know I don't know when this is going up.
It's going to probably be up tomorrow.
All right, good. So then we can say that there's still some hope. I mean, all I have to do is go watch the comeback. I relate to Boston fans because they were a franchise that was overshadowed by the Den of Iniquity, a couple hours north of us. So I won't mention who we're talking about.
Yankees.
Thank you. But it's just, it's we got a chance, and that's all that matters. And I know our fans, I hate watching these games or being in the stadium, and when we're doing poorly, they boo. But I just... Because I never have booed.
Yeah.
I booed when it's out of fun.
I booed the light show last night.
And I'm booing Ohtani, and I'm doing that. But
you're not booing the
light. Yeah, the light show is hard.
You can't be losing by 4 runs and do the light show.
You're right. That's not.
But they paid for the flamethrowers.
Yeah,
so that's what.
But that's not that's a good signature thing if it's not like us. We know enough about sports where we think, we probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. And you don't spike the football when you're down 40 points.
Correct. Yeah. And then you act like you've been there before.
Right. Right. And we have.
Yeah. And Duran is new to us, and I love him, by the way. And I love all of the Star-Spangled fun that they have when he comes out. But if I'm him, I just say, hey.
Yeah, if we're losing.
Don't.
Yeah. Nobody was booing Duran. We were booing the decision to run the light show. So. And I feel like the media is kind of running with that right now, but they don't know what they're talking about because they're not educated like us Philadelphia sports fans.
All right, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey,
and I'm going to take that ball.
Everybody's welcome to the R Bar anytime.
Let's go, Phillies.
Let's go.
Yeah.